Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today we're going to get into some more Soulbound reward cards. There's 6 or 7 in this video, and I have not commented on these ones before. You've seen them over the last 24-48 hours, and so I want to let you know where I think they stand and what sort of where they rank within the power caliber or power creep of the new issuance of Soulbound reward cards. And so if that sounds interesting, stick around and stay tuned. And I'll say also that this is a clip from our recent members only live event. So if you want to be a member, you can have access to these live events when they happen and maybe lead the conversation with your questions. Check out the members page in the YouTube channel. Have an amazing day. God bless. You know what I want to talk about also before we go? And it probably will be like a 40-minute conversation. I want to talk about the there's some Soulbound cards that I haven't mentioned yet. I haven't reviewed yet. I haven't talked about, and maybe you guys have, but you know, I don't know. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. Every time I see them on X, I repost it so that people can see. We got King Arminius here sharing, all right, Splinterlands fam, it's my great honor to present one of the new Rebellion reward cards for the first time ever, a modern elemental phoenix of sorts. This card packs a punch from the get-go. Interesting combos, Lorcus, Yasik, Riskrel. I think that's Drath. That's the that's Bulldog's one, I think. What do you think, Splinterheads? Let's see. So there are 6 cards here. Chaos Evoker, this one here by Stever, Commander Slade, Thunderhoof, that's 3, Tokatag 4, Sergeant Grauzral 5, and Continuum Seer 6. So those 6 I want to look at right now. Let's start here with Chaos Evoker. I like the art. Really impressed with the art style. I've said that several times, but it's great. The shadowing looks great. The like in the face, the characters feel lore appropriate. Okay, what do we got here? 7 mana, a little bit on the expensive side, but 99 mana in the higher levels is quite common. This is a common card. Okay, so it's a common card. We have Ambush with the 2 is not super crazy. I guess with Lorcus you can make it 3 damage X, which is pretty cool. 4 speed is, I consider that fast. 2 armors and 7. So you're not small. You're evasive from physical. Ooh, and blast damage. Blast with the ambush, by the way. I didn't put 2 and 2 together on that yet. Now, for a common, this is really a great card. And I like how many hit points it has also, by the way. If it had, if it even had like 1 less hit point, 1 less armor, maybe 1 less speed, I'm probably still playing it. It's that good. But it's not like it's so good that you'll just roll Chaos Evoker every single match. 7 mana is not small. And if you don't have Lorcus, you're only doing 2 damage. And if they bring 1 silence, you're only doing 1 damage. And 1 damage can be voided. And then, there's no impact at all. The blast is significant, but it's really more significant if you've got a Lorcus. If you don't have Lorcus, then it becomes less relevant. I guess I wonder what he was thinking with respect to Riskrel. But if you had a taunt, let's go modern summoners. Yeah, Lorcus could make it interesting with the life leech. That makes a lot of obvious sense to me. Would you like it with the cryptic? The poison could be interesting, I suppose. I don't think that's maybe as valuable. Drath has got the taunt, which could be interesting if you brought, for instance, I talked about using Drath with taunt and resurrect, and you could position this card, Chaos Evoker, next to a martyr, which you apply taunt to, and then you allow the resurrect. Now, is there a resurrect on the fire team in conjunction with? It's not just fire team though, because you could bring in the green team because of Drath use. So I think there's a pretty interesting, what the low buy on Drath. There's been a lot of silliness with respect to this data. The low buy $100. Maybe because I'm looking at maxes. To buy a max, yeah, if you want a max, you got to pay 100. So I set my filters to buy max or to looking at maxes, and that's why it's showing me that. That can be confusing to a lot of people. So $9 on Drath, eh? I wouldn't mind getting my Drath maxed out. I still feel Drath and probably Tofu are the two juiciest so far. Anyways, I mean, that's a distraction. Coming back to Chaos Evoker, yeah, very strong card, and I could imagine, you know, interesting ways to put it to work. Some of which are being already suggested by my man King Arminius, but it's a lot of mana for what might amount to essentially 1 damage because void armor, you know. Silence, etc. Interesting though, good card. This one I haven't clicked on. I'm going to click on it. Steve released it. What did he must have did a blog post? Yeah, he did a whole video. The card, the card is below, and if you didn't see it yet, there it is. Also, we gave what we thought about the card and talked a lot about other topics. I hope you are doing well. I haven't watched Steve recently. I want to chat with him sometime soon. But here's the card. So we got a big 10 mana cost. I love this art. This is even cooler than the last one. This reminds me of Reinhardt from Overwatch, who is one of my mains. I'm a tank main on that game. But looks super rad. I love the color palette. Okay, what are we seeing here outside of the art? Water Splinter, 10 mana. You know, you got to be worried about giant kill, and you know, you don't have any void or void armor, so magic is going to really maybe hurt you. Okay. So you got this one takes down your opponent's melee damage output. You got the dodge, which is interesting. 6 speed. Interesting. With the backfire. Interesting. Look at this big dude. I'm really surprised he's a fast guy. You know what I mean? He looks like a big oaf, like a big slow, hits hard, moves slow type guy. The reflection shield is interesting, but because it's not a reach monster or a sneak monster or an opportunity monster, I'm less interested in the reflection shield. You're going to put this in the first spot, and the reflection shield ultimately is going to mean not that you dodge some blast damage here or there, but it's going to mean that you aren't impacted by the thorns damage on your opponent, which of course matters because Tofu and other cards have thorns. But I don't think with this many hit points, including that much armor, that you need to be deeply concerned with thorns. And so I feel like this is, while it's a very powerful thing, and you can use it in other contexts, like melee from any position, you could put this in the 5th spot and thereby avoid some blast damage that might be possible, or the 2nd spot, or whatever. Because I like this card and its kit. I kind of like it a lot, actually. I don't really care for this ability, and I think this is maybe just out of place in some sense. But of course, the dodge with the backfire with the speed really makes sense. Like that's a nice 1, 2, 3, and this is a good amount of hit points, so you could play it as main tank. I would be wary of playing this in certain rule sets, like where archery is excluded, for instance, because there's a greater likelihood of seeing magic opponents. If there's a greater propensity for my opponent to drop magic, then I would be nervous about playing this card. If it's melee only, I'm pretty interested in this card. If it's melee only and green's available, I'm less interested because green has the Shatter Summoner and your 7 armor could really evaporate quite quickly. Having said that, it's really evasive in melee only. Maybe that's enough. Bring a blind and watch out. So all that said, strong card. Like this one a lot. I could see this one. Now 10 mana is not cheap. And I kind of describe this a little bit as a niche. Like it doesn't feel like the most resilient tank, even though it has 17 hit points, and it doesn't have phase, and it doesn't have, you know, void or void armor or shield. So I like it. I think it's better than the first card, probably, unless you have Lorcus. And I will probably play this card. Like I would find a niche for this, but I don't think this is an everyday card either. I don't think the first card was, and I don't think this card is, but I do think they're both great. And they seem like they have a pretty significant niche that they'll kind of work within. So I like them both a lot. And before I move on to the next 2 cards, I will check them in the chat and see what you guys are thinking. Oh, Gathering says he's trying not to look at the new cards. He wants to be surprised. Paul says Ambush Blast is sweet. Yeah, of course, that would be pretty wild. Paul says, does the speed reduction splash with blast? Does speed reduction? No, I don't think so, because other things don't splash with blast. Like we don't see life leech from the second touch. We don't see affliction land with the second blast touch. We don't see, and so I don't think the speed reduction would splash with blast. And so you're but just for clarity's sake, you're talking about this card. So if you partnered with Lorcus and you gave yourself life leech, you would get life leech from the first impact, not from the adjacent impacts. Same with affliction, same with stun, same with, I forget, I think all of those abilities. They happen to the primary victim. Paul says, with respect to this card, Commander Slade. Slade, where does that come from? Slade, that's a character from Teen Titans. Not that this character is from Teen Titans, but that name. So Paul says about this card, not a great card. 10 mana is rough. Magic will hurt it. Yep. If you felt that magic was coming, I would be nervous about playing this. But in a physical match where you could put this in the first spot, you knew magic wasn't coming because magic was disallowed. Now you're talking kind of niche at that point, but you could bring some extra swiftness or slows or blind or flight and turn this card into a beast, right? Maybe that's a pretty particular lane. It's not a wide lane, but that usefulness would be significant. Melee battles could be good, yeah, is what he says thereafter. Yes, exactly. I mean, remember the summoners that are like, we could drop a flight on them with another speed, by the way, and then again drop a taunt on a martyr beside him, which would give him another speed, right? You could play him in a melee only position. Let's see what else. How would life leech be with that card? Dropping those big bombs. Retaliate on that guy could be crazy. Trample would be nice. Oh, what am I doing? I'm just like I'm grabbing any other summoner. Every single summoner. He was a water, so trample would be nice for them. You could put him in the second spot. That'd be interesting. And then you couldn't use that. You can't use that. He was a water card, right? Water. So I'm getting carried away. You could use trample. You could use camo's not really that relevant. Unless you wanted to use no. Blind with the cryptic could be interesting. Right? And a -1 speed would be significant. So I said Drath of the Flight, but that wouldn't work. Putting a shield on him with Rosa could be interesting. Or you just go easy with Kelia, and for 14 mana, you got a pretty powerful one team submission. I generally think I agree with you though, Paul. I wouldn't consider that like a, it's not something you're going to be rolling every single match, because it looks good, not great. That's where maybe I'll leave that on that one. Let's get 2 more of these, and then there's 6 in total, but again, we'll get to the next 2. The next one I haven't looked at yet is from Ank, and he said, "Hey, Splinterlands fam, say hello to Thunderhoof Nomad. Full stats revealed. No correct winners, but some great guesses. Derek, okay. Let's see. Thunderhoof Nomad. This one's a bit more playful in its art style, which is befitting for the Earth Splinter, and she looks very woodsy, doesn't she? Looks like a character out of Narnia. Another small mana damage dealer with the 2 damage output and 3 speed, 4 hit points, which is not a crazy amount of stats, but for 3 mana is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of numbers. We're talking 2, 3, 7, 9, 9 stats for 3 is really, it's a good return. It's a good, plus we get 3 abilities. Triage is a big ability. For a caster to have in the back line and to be able to support the Earth Splinter with another triage, which we already know they have Mycelic Split Spawn taunt, which is a great caster that you can drop in the back and keep it up now with, I think, 3 or 4 triages. You got Thunderhoof, you've got, you know, I can't remember everybody's name anymore, but if we just look at triage from the green team, there's at least, because there's these 2 right now on the screen, but then watch when I add neutral. You have the Spirit Hoarder, Queen Mycelia, Uloth Dampier, and Thunderhoof. All with the Mycelic Slip Spawn, and then put like a big melee monster in the first spot, and watch out. Yes, it's a very magic-centered approach, and there's ways to, I guess, you know, respond accordingly, but triage is powerful. Strengthen is awesome. Reflection shield is significant, but especially because in the play I'm describing, we would be concerned about blast damage landing on the Mycelic Slip Spawn and then eating at or eroding the rest of my back line. But Thunderhoof could step in and say, nope, end of that. So really strong card. I actually like this one best of all the ones I've looked at thus far, because the low mana means it'll fit into so many scenarios, and 2 damage for 3 mana is significant. It's a rare monster with decent speed, and I like this kit. I like everything about this kit. It's not a card that you would need every single match, and I wonder if it might, despite its low mana. I think this is going to really, I imagine this fits in like your 30 to 40 mana rule set in a really powerful way, because it's a significant card with a good kit. It'll complement some of those big monsters that you've got in the back line. Chaos Dragon with the Scatter Shot and the Blast is going to start to hurt your back line. That's a common monster, and it's going to hurt your team, but then you got a Triage and a Strengthen and a Reflection Shield, all for 3 mana. So you can field with like a 30 or 40 mana match, you could field a card like this and not eat away at your collection of your too much of your allowance on the mana, and so I like a card like this a lot. It's my favorite of the ones we looked at thus far. Brave Tofu, folks. Here we are. The stats and abilities of Tokatag Conscript, the winner. Lore in the comments below. I'm not a big fan of the lore. I'm gonna skip that part. This card I like less. Like it looks a little bit like she's weak, but that makes sense because she's common. Having said that, she kind of looks like a badass. She's got like scars and she's still ready to go. So I like it, and yet it's not like it's so impressive from an art standpoint. She looks like a typical, she's just a conscript though. It's not like she's some sort of legendary warrior. She doesn't even have a name. She's a conscript from that nation or whatever, which is befitting for the art style. So I like that she looks weathered. I think it's cool. Looking at the stats, 6 mana for 2 damage, 3 speed, and 9. You got another archer. Lots of archers in the reward set. A lot of archers with a lot of hit points. Here we have 14 for 6. That's a lot of stats. And then we're getting sneak. This is a sneak sniper with the thorns damage. So you got the backfire with. Now you're a bit slow, but the backfire with the thorns means you can put it in the sneak position. She's got a lot of hit points. She's gonna hurt those sneak attackers. She might backfire on them if you equip her in the right ways. Maybe dropping. She's neutral, so you could do any of the summoners. Drop a flight on her. Drop a dodge on her. Drop extra speed or blinds, whatever. There's a lot of ways to make her a bit more evasive and put that backfire to work. It's a good card, but again, it's nothing. It's not even in the conversation, as Thunderhoof to me really resonates in a lot of ways. This is good. I'm gonna want it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it doesn't compare. I'll take a time out and see what you guys are saying, and before we get the last two. Decent support card. Sneak on neutral ranges is nice. Could be a sneak catcher. Yeah. So the Toka Conscript definitely offers some of that kit, right? it's a lot of hit points, and you can easily throw a protect or two on her, and suddenly she's a beast back there with like 4 armor and 9 hit points and providing thorn damage all the way. Plus occasionally maybe getting that backfire damage. I like it. And then this would triage well, wouldn't it? With the 9 hit points, you're healing it, triaging it for 3 every single time. It's a strong common card. The damage output is not huge. 2 is not crazy. And 1 headwinds is bringing it down to 1. So I don't know if I'm reliably counting on that sneak damage being all that you would maybe want it to be, but the kit is more about the sustainability, the Tokatag. You could put it in the first inner range only. Yeah, that's a smart thought. Range first only. It's got that tank hit point ability, doesn't it? Like, I mean, it doesn't have the close range, but who cares? The main focus with a card like this is not its damage output, it's the sustainability. And we do know that there's a couple different archers that have melee as well. And so it's not uncommon to see, you know, you go up against Drybone Raider and he hits you with the archer, he hits you with the melee maybe, assuming he has close range. And so for those reasons, the Thorns on Tokatag could go to work. And with the Drybone Raider being a slow card, maybe that speed is enough. So yeah, I like it. I don't know that I think I probably prefer the Paul pointing to the decent support card. I think Thunderhoof's better. If I could only have one of these two, because magic, because it's 3 mana, because the kit works in a lot of ways with a lot of the green, what green already does, I say Thunderhoof is the more impressive card. And I'm again comparing it even to Commander Slade, even to Chaos Evoker. And Chaos Evoker to me is pretty sexy, but the ambush for 7 mana, I love this card if I have Lorcus, and I don't if I don't. That's it. For me, 7 mana means this card is a real important part of my team. Unless we have 99 mana, 7 mana is a lot. 3 mana, you can fit that in almost all day in every match, and that's pointing me back to why whoa, sorry guys. That's pointing me back to why that sort of cheaper 3 mana card would be more playable. Paul says the conscript is probably at the bottom of what we've seen. I think that's probably true. That's probably true. And yet it's pretty sound. Like, it's a sound card. It will get play. And remember, it's neutrals only. And so we see a lot of the neutrals only rule set now. Well, maybe not a lot, but we do see it. And when you're playing archer only, neutral only, you're right, you'll slip this into the tank position. Even the bad ones are still pretty good, aren't they? Okay, so we'll do Nimble Duke Explorer. Speak a poquito español, but not well enough. Let's see. Un nuevo nomo se suma a Splinterlands esta 15 de agosto. De aspecto alegre se dedica a sanar sus aliados mientras explora las tierras de Nimble Dukes aliadas del Imperio del Chaos, I guess. Chaos. Yeah, okay. 4 mana, life splinters, 2 speed, 4 big hit points again from a non-attacking monster. Is this the first non-attacker we've seen? Ooh, I like it. Is an attacker because it's got the armor. The self-heal is not particularly consequential with the 7. You're only going to get 2 hit points per turn unless you can bring 2 extra hit points to bring it up to 9. The protect is pretty cool because you're getting 6, and that's a big 6 bomb. Wow. To be honest, this guy looks underrated when you first kind of look, and then you go, whoa, you're going to have 6 armor on turn 1, and you're going to hit for 6. Yeah, I know your armor is going to break, and then you're just going to kind of be in the way, but frankly, for 4 mana, that's pretty meaningful. And you could bring more protects with the white team. If we go into filters, we look at our white with our neutrals, and we look for the ability of protect. You could put Slade Blade Fighter in the first, Silverblade Fighter in the first, providing flank, enabling that new card to drop in the second spot and fire from the second. Plus, we get another synergy with this protect. Silverblade Fighter is a great card, by the way. I need to get this card maxed out. Mine is only at level 6. I would love to get that level 8. So that feels pretty interesting to me. And for 10 mana, you get a pretty strong 1-2 punch. And this card's quite resilient because of the void armor, unless they bring a shatter. And so that's a pretty interesting suggestion right there. But then with melee from any position, you start getting to a place where 1, 2, now you got 2 extra protects. And is that really all the protects there are in the white and neutral teams? What about dragon? You get Rune Seer Surveyor if you bring dragon to the mix. And then with Rune Seer Surveyor in conjunction with that new card, what's his name again? Nimble Duke. You now have 2 non-attacking monsters. Can you bring a weapons trainer into that conversation? Yes, you can. So now in the back lines, you might have Nimble Duke and Rune Seer Surveyor enjoying Rage buff, Moxiel Rebel buff, Zyriel buff, whatever the case, whatever you have. So I like that card a lot. Because, again, where is it? X. So Nimble Duke, pretty substantial for limited mana. That armor strike is going to hit hard. You could put a card like this in any position if the melee attacks from any position, and there are 3 rule sets that allow that. The protect would be really valuable. Sorry, the armor strike would be really impactful if you could bury this card in a way where it's not going to be itself the main target. And so again, flank or melee from any position really helps it. And then the protect blocks your whole team, right? So I like this card a lot. This one I probably, and then again, it leans into the weapons train meta, which is so current. So to me, Nimble Duke might be now my preferable one. I think it is, in fact, even over Thunderhoof. Yeah, I think it does. I think it's new. I just feel like maybe the heal is a little irrelevant because I don't actually believe that this heal is going to meaningfully. Every heal matters. 2 hit points per turn is going to counteract poison or counteract poison, let's say. But it's not going to keep you up in most scenarios if you're the main victim or target. And finally, Continuum Seer, which this art is maybe the best I've seen so far. This is my new favorite. That's what I said. Simply amazing. That was from August 7th. 4 mana, 8 speed, backfire and phase. I mean, good luck killing it. Like, yeah, I know True Strike is going to be the path in the conversation around this one. You know, we got talking about how's it going to die. Yasik plus Equalizer rule set and throw in a swiftness and a slow, and she might be the best game in the card in the game. Carlos says True Strike earning utility day by day. Yes, it is. And there is a growing amount of True Strike because not only do we have cards that do it, but we have summoners that do it. So this is now, what card was that? What splinter was that card for? Card is for fire. Okay. Yasik gives this thing 10 speed to start with. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And yet I don't know if, it's exceptional. It's the best card we've looked at. It's still my best. And I stand by this comment from 2 days ago. This card is my favorite card because it does a significant amount of damage. 3 is significant. 2 is, well, I was down with that other card that did 2 damage. Two of the magic monsters we looked at today do 2 damage. And I was like, these are good cards. This one does 3. So 3 is awesome. And then the evasiveness means that the hit points are almost, they're not a big deal. And like he said, with the Equalizer rule set, you get suddenly this thing has 10 hit points. Good luck. And the 4 mana means it plays in every setting. You're not going to be blocked out. And it's not even an epic or a rare. Sorry, it's not even an epic or a legendary. So this is going to be able to playable in almost every rule set, in almost every game, unless Magic's disqualified or Fire is disqualified. And so I love this card. But then coming to Peak Monsters to look at some of the True Strike opportunities, like True Strike has grown. This is a lot of True Strikers, isn't it? You know, and we got dragons, got 2 of them, 3 of them, 4, which means that they can be positioned with any of the teams. Then life has 3 of their own, 4 of their own, 5 of their own. Whoa. Oh, I see. I'm looking at life. I was like, wait a second. That's not even, by the way, that's not even just, I was just looking at, so the true strikes have really grown. Like these are the true strikes. That's a lot of true strikes, man. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21. And then we know that we also have the summoners that provide true strike, such as Kitty. And doesn't that new one, let me see. Yeah. True strike. So two of your monsters can get true strike with Drath, which totally changes the true strike game. Right? Like for me to come in and see your team and as a tactics be able to say, nope, I do not want to lose. I'm going to lose to 10 speed Continuum Seer in conjunction with Jacek. Nope, not going to do it. Opportunity, true strike, dead, right? Opportunity, probably I have an opportunity monster on my team. And maybe if I got 1 opportunity monster on my team, I probably have 2. And so you're dead. Like the two hit points and the 1 is probably making you that target and we're going to erase you. And so I feel like this is probably the most powerful, at least 4 mana, sub 5, like the Little Leagues card we've seen so far. And I would say, therefore, you know, you got to think about true strikes, because I actually think the best of the best cards are always the ones you need to be prepared to counter, because they will, in fact, affect the meta. And therefore, if those cards, such as that one, Continuum Seer, become part of the meta, then we have to understand that True Strike will become a bigger part of the meta. And so to me, Drath is pretty powerful in that. If you're in the modern, you got the Kitty. And, if you're in the wild, you got the Kitty. And so, yeah, I think those cards look amazing. I continue to be blown away by these Soulbound reward cards, and I think we should be. I think it's good that they are amazing and exciting. I know that that also means power creep, and I recently admitted that in a recent video talking about the Soulbound cards and how I think Mylor... Mylor... Tofu killed Mylor is what the video was called. It's not ideal that the power creep grow exponentially. To the best of the Splinterlands team's ability, they should allow power creep within the reason and realm of marginally better than what we last saw. And that would keep us excited, keep us coming forward, keep us wanting more, prevent us from sitting on our laurels, like just being okay with the card deck that you've got. And yet, if certain cards are crazy overpowered, like there's this giant leap forward, or there's no answer to them because they fit in every scenario. It's not just about whether they are overpowered. A card like Continuum Seer might be overpowered in certain contexts, but it certainly isn't overpowered in every context. I'll give you an example. Magic is not playable. It's not overpowered there. Or I'll give you an example. Fire is not available. Those are obvious, and people say, well, yeah, but that's, you know, a lot of time Fire is playable, or a lot of time Magic is playable. Okay. Like I just showed you, True Strike Draft is going to answer this card. In most scenarios, this is going to be your smallest hit point on the team. Therefore, 2 opportunity monsters if you see your opponent playing Continuum Seer in ways that allow them to phase and dodge you. So if that's their play, bring opportunity, bring Draft, done. Done. Not even a question, just done. It's even if they bring 2 protects, which is unlikely, then they're going to have 5 hit points and they're going to have 2 hit points, maybe 3 because of a strengthen on the team. Not good enough. Probably 2 of your opportunity monsters, I'm thinking of the water team in particular, would delete this thing easy. Okay, it has to be in conjunction with Drath. Who's Drath again? Drath is Earth Fire. So again, there's ample opportunity monsters on the Earth Fire. Assuming those are the only teams available, and they don't have to be, but if Continuum Seer is available, Fire's available, let's just look at Fire neutral. And I think and if Fire is available, that means, no, it doesn't. Probably more opportunity monsters than this are going to be available. But if fire is available, I can play Drath. And if you play that card, I probably, you know, op. And yeah, you're going to get a shot off, but then I'm going to true. And we got camo over here, by the way. And this one's got piercing. So if it's a slow first, like gone in the first shot. So it's okay when cards are powerful. It's even okay when they're overpowered. It's not okay when they are necessary in every situation. And I don't think we can say that about any of these soulbounds. Each one of them has a very strong, or maybe not even, some of them have just like an average sort of niche that it might be a little bit cool, but not super overwhelming. Cards like Continuum Seer, to me, fit probably in a broader range of play. That makes them more necessary. But I just said over the last 3-4 minutes, lots of reasons and ways that it won't fit in every scenario. And that means that's like good development. That's keeping us excited, wanting us, we're going to want the card, but we also don't need it in every scenario and situation. That's important. I'll read a couple more comments and I think I'm going to wrap up there, guys. Thanks for hanging out today. Yeah, okay. Paul says try clicking on his account name. I will, you're right. Because we might actually be able to see that last card, which would be cool. This guy, and I'll go to silence. Okay, so here. Behold, after all these days of teasing you with previews, Sergeant Grauzral appears in all her glory. Okay, so let's check it out. So this will be the final one, and then we'll wrap. So 6 mana, legendary, water, archery again, lots of archery. 4 speed is very good, especially for 6 mana with this sort of kit. And for 6, we're talking 13. So a lot of stats for 6 mana. And then you get 3 abilities. The opportunity is nice. The immunity is great. A lot of poison lately and all that jazz. Affliction. And the blast is significant. This feels like a water version of the card I was just looking at on Peak Monsters. Countess Sinesh. Now, I know it's slightly different, but you got the blast and the archery damage and the opportunity. This one is more hidden and does more damage because of the 4. And then Continuum. And then Sergeant Grauzral is more resilient because of the immunity. Actually, the immunity is not a reflection shield. Never mind. I thought it was going to make reflection shield. I was getting confused. So it's a bit more vulnerable. But then this one being a water team means something pretty important. What summoners do you have on the access on the water team that help archery? A card I've been playing more often lately, Prophet Rosa. 2 extra archery damage on this card could be crazy. You're going 5 with the blast for 6. I like that. In archery only rule sets, I'm pretty darn interested in that. You put this in the back line, let that opportunity put in work. The big bomb, 5 bomb with the 3 on either side is dropping and raining pain. So that's a strong card. Now it's a strong card in a context. I don't actually like this card as much as any of the other legendaries unless it's archery only or unless you have Prophet Rosa. Because 3 with blast is not as good. This is objectively worse than Countess Sinesh. Countess Sinesh has the camo to hide. Countess Sinesh has a greater damage output. Countess Sinesh has greater speed and provides a swiftness on your team. And they're both legendaries, and Sinesh is what, 7 mana to play? Is it? Sinesh, where are you? Yeah, Sinesh is 8 mana. Nevertheless, I'd rather have Countess Sinesh than this new card. Unless you're using Prophet Rosa in those particular scenarios. So 7 new Soulbound reward cards. I'm going to leave it there. Unless you guys have any final thoughts. I'll give you the last word. Magic Reflect does kill it in 1 shot. That's a good point. You're talking about Continuum Seer. And you're right. You had another, a consideration with respect to this card's powerful, but Magic Reflect, dead. Even if you bring in an extra hit point through a strengthen, if the opponent brings an amp, dead. First shot, kills itself. So Equalizer rule said this becomes really crazy. But now we're talking one rule set where it feels really crazy. So people, even myself, who say things like it's my favorite new Soulbound reward card, people say like it's never going to die, or so, but you know, we get so carried away in certain specific contexts, but we don't go that other step of thinking about how it'll fit in 20 other rule sets, or how it won't fit.